All right, Kentucky basketball fans, pat yourselves on the back. What transpired Sunday was awesome. Not been the best banner weeks for Kentucky basketball. Lose to Oakland, it's embarrassing. Then looks like Cal's staying, John Calipari's staying. Then everyone tries to rally. Okay, we'll see how that's going to go. And Mitch Barnhart and him do this TV thing, and looks like we're going to do it. And then all of a sudden, Calipari is leaving for Arkansas of all places, which doesn't seem thing. And then some of you are happy he's leaving, but then some of you maybe not. And then all of a sudden, realization hits that Danny Hurley and oh man, who else? I mean, Eric Spoelstra. I mean, they were trying everybody, right?
Danny Hurley, Bobby,
Drew wasn't coming.
Billy Donovan,
Billy Donovan. Yeah, they couldn't get anyone to come. And they end up with Mark Pope, great player on their 1996 championship team. And then they had to talk to him. He's done good stuff at BYU, but he hasn't even won a single NCAA tournament game. He's never really recruited at the highest level. And then, oh my God, it just was like they needed something to say, let's all just get together and show who we are. We're still the Big Blue Nation. We're still Kentucky basketball. It matters more here than anyone else, or doesn't matter more anywhere else. So they fill up for a press conference, for our Mark Pope press conference. They filled Rupp Arena, 22,000, and they turned away an estimated 5,000 people into the streets of Lexington to watch this press conference on TVs and restaurants and bars or whatever. They went home. People were driving in from other states and waited in line for like 7 hours to be at the press conference. Now, as a working member of the press, I can tell you, no, I'm not. Don't do that. But whatever. You did it. It was an awesome show. Pat, Commonwealth at its best right there, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yes, and I'm coming to you live from the state that Scott Drew rejected. Not once, but twice. He rejected Louisville, then he rejected Kentucky. This was a Kentucky program flex about who they are and who they have been and who they want very much to continue to be. And that is bigger than any coach, bigger than any one player, bigger than arguably any other program. They have the best fan support. This is like 97,000 people going to the Alabama spring game to see the new coach there. Got 22,000 or 23,000 or who knows how many in Rupp to see the new coach there. And what they did for the trappings to go with it, I thought was a master stroke. And I don't know how much Pope was involved in this or who all, but this was a theater piece. Frankly, they drove the bus into Rupp Arena and pull in, and out comes not just Mark Pope. He came last, but before him came this parade of former Kentucky greats. And then at the end, here comes the 1996 championship team. And at the very end, here comes Mark Pope, member of the 96 championship team, carrying the championship trophy from that year. And that's the exact same thing that happened in 1996 when they won the trophy, because I was there. I was covering the team. When they flew back from New York after winning, they drove the bus into Rupp Arena, and the crowd wasn't as big then as it was today. But there was still a big crowd in there, and they got off the bus, and they did their salutations. And to do this like reenactment of that, I thought was very savvy callback to a time when, you know what? We were the program. And the program was bigger than first-round draft picks and bigger than a coach trying to sell the NBA draft and bigger than one-and-dones. That's what the sales job was here, that this is a program with history, with tradition, with passion, with length and breadth, and we're bigger than John Calipari. That was the sale here. We're bigger than one-and-done. Pope even made a comment to the effect that we're not going to bring in players who feel like it's an honor for the school to clothe them in their jersey. It's the other way around. And boy, let me tell you, that resonated. He also dropped a line. He said, we at Kentucky, we are program shepherds. and paused and looked at Jeff Shepard, who was on the 96 team with him, whose son Reed Shepard could maybe come back for a sophomore year. And boy, was this whole thing orchestrated probably with Reed in mind, as Jeff got off the bus with Mark Pope. So this was very theatrical, very persuasive. The Commonwealth got their swagger back to a degree. Don't know if they're going to win. Do not. Mark Pope is 0-2 in NCAA tournament games, both as a 6 seed playing 11 seeds. So he's got a lot of proving to do. But you want to win the press conference? He won the press conference.
Yeah, this was like it was pretty awesome, and it was very very deliberate, right? Some of the things I won't go through them all again. He just did, but he hit on all the things that were clearly like purposeful and deliberate in this whole production that Kentucky did, and it was it was impressive. It was incredible to watch. We were in the Masters press building, watching this on video. And I couldn't believe the crowd. And I think I think the ceremony was delayed like a few minutes, right? Because there were like thousands of people that were trying to get into the arena and haven't gotten in the arena yet. And these Kentucky people, I mean, they like golf, right? They're missing the Masters for this.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It
means more.
CATS, cats.
There you go.
It reminds me of, I remember doing a story on Midnight Madness, and like they would, show up a month early to like get their spot in line when Pitino was coaching. I mean, it's just the level of passion for Kentucky basketball is again cannot be surpassed. It's probably number one, but I don't want to anger all the other guys. But that was as good as it gets in terms of press conference. Other points I thought he made really well, because I thought there were two other things. I only want players that, however he put it, where it's like, I'm doing you a favor by wearing your jersey. I don't know if that's a fair shot. How many players were there like that? I think a lot of those guys, they might have been one and done, but they loved Kentucky. They may love John Calipari, and it'll be interesting to see how that works out, that loyalty. But I do think, I think Darius Miller was there. Was that right, Pat, from the 2012 team?
Probably. I mean, there was a lot of guys there.
They do not need a fight between the Calipari era and all the other eras.
No, they don't. You're right.
They do not, because the Calipari era guys are really cool. And we'll get to DeMarcus Cousins in a second. But you don't need like, I'm going to get a war with John Wall and just all these guys, because these are the guys, these are guys that have influence over high school recruits. If they start saying don't go to Kentucky just on their podcasts and their stuff, follow Cal, that has impact. So you don't want to fight with those guys. But there are two things I think that Calipari did, besides talking about the draft all the time, which you could say was recruiting, but everything was recruiting. Two other things he did. One, he would always play neutral site games. The home schedule generally sucked, and they were always playing somebody good in Chicago or Dallas or New York City or LA or something like that. And I think Mark Pope would do really well with the fans and for the program to do more home and homes. And I think it's always been a fair Calipari that never wanted to play home and homes, because he said he just didn't want to. He just rather play an NBA stadium. He doesn't want to deal with the road if he doesn't have to. The other thing is he never cared about the SEC championship tournament. Didn't care if they won, didn't care if they lost. And I think Kentucky fans always had great pride. Pat, you would know better, but I always took Kentucky fans had great pride in winning the SEC. And not just winning, but pointing out to everyone else in the SEC where we care, you don't. We're big time, we're big blue, you're not. And they loved going down, mostly to Nashville, sometimes Atlanta, and dominating the whole city in blue. Like that mattered to them, winning the SEC. Calipari didn't matter. Home games in Rupp, home and homes, didn't matter to him. I think Mark Pope was right, because he said, we want to hang banners in Nashville. He made that specific point. So I don't know your thoughts on that, and then we'll get to Boogie Cousins.
Yeah, 100%. No doubt about it. That Cal, didn't care about the tournament, and Kentucky fans bought all the tickets for the tournament. And they wanted to be there for 4 days in Nashville or Atlanta or Birmingham, partying it up. And yes, that absolutely to flex their superiority and to say, we are the basketball program. And lately, there's a bunch of other SEC teams going to Final Fours, not named Kentucky. Auburn's gone. South Carolina's gone. Alabama is now gone. Tennessee almost went. So there is no doubt that they want to restake the claim to the league as well. And look, Kentucky fans want to win everything, and that's why, like when you're dumping games to North Carolina, Wilmington, and some of these other schools early in the season, and Cal's like, I'd like to win those, but if we don't, who cares? The fans care. They don't want to go through November taking those losses. So, there's just a lot of little things that the fans maybe cared about more than Cal, and we'll see if Pope has a little better ear to the ground on that.
All right. So DeMarcus Cousins goes on the podcast Up in Smoke and talks about the situation. Now, DeMarcus Cousins was in Calipari's first recruiting class in Kentucky. He was supposed to go to Memphis. Calipari leaves Memphis, goes to Kentucky. Cousins goes. They have John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins. Who else do they have in that group?
Eric Bledsoe.
Eric Bledsoe. Team was absolutely loaded. They missed every single 3-point shot in the Elite Eight and didn't make it. West Virginia beat them. And it was one of the more crushing, inexplicable losses of the Calipari era. But it set the tone at Kentucky like, Kentucky's where all the good players go. And they were following Calipari. They were all going to probably go to, maybe at least some of them were going to go to Memphis. So DeMarcus Cousins is he's a Cal guy. Now, he said in this podcast how much he loved Kentucky. And again, I think they would be careful to get in fights over who loves Kentucky more or how you love Kentucky and stuff like that. But he said all praise. He gave a lot of praise, so I want to give that context because I think it's important. But he said, I think everyone is going to get a real taste of reality moving forward. We've seen this movie before with Cal, where he becomes the hot spot. I put Cal and Deion Sanders in the same category. Deion has the prime effect. It's the same thing with Calipari. Arkansas will now be the hot spot. Arkansas will have the number 1 recruiting class every single year. Arkansas will be full of celebrities. Good luck finding a replacement for Cal because it's going to be very hard. And he said, what we experienced those 15 years of Cal being there, we will never experience again, even when it comes to TV games, the revenue, everything that comes with Cal. What kids are looking for in today's time is what's hot, what's cool, what's relevant. I want to be on TV every single night. Guess what team's going to be on TV every night? The Arkansas Razorbacks. It'll never be the same. Quick point before Kentucky fans drive their car off the road. Mm-hmm. Kentucky's going to be on TV. Okay. And they're probably going to be on more. I'm not saying Cousins is correct with any of these statements, but this is a prominent basketball player from the program. Cal will create something at Arkansas, whether it works or not, but he's going to get really good recruits at Arkansas. Ross or Pat, whatever you think, we go with Pat. He's right there. But your thoughts on what Cousins said, and how accurate that might be, and how Mark Pope has to battle that, because I don't think he's wrong. You may disagree, but I think some people would hold that same opinion.
Yeah, and I don't really disagree with DeMarcus Cousins. I think he's probably right that at least initially there will be a Cal wave. He is the premier recruiter out there, and so he's going to get guys, and he's going to make that the new trendy spot. I don't think there's any doubt about that. The question is, what's he going to do with those players? Because he was getting the guys at Kentucky, and he wasn't delivering. And so the one thing of like people saying, well, Mark Pope's never gotten great recruits. Well, Cal got all the great recruits and lost to Oakland and St. Peter's. So if it's just about getting the recruits, or is it about building a team that does something? So there's going to be incredible buzz for Cal at Arkansas. He's going to capitalize. He's probably going to go get guys all over the place right away. He's got to coach him. He's got to put it together and show he can get back to being a guy that fields a really good team as opposed to a collection of transcendent talents. And I will say this too. Pope has an unbelievable personality, and I think he showed it today, and has showed it a couple times here since being named as the head of the job. Like the big worry of, can you handle the fishbowl in the spotlight? Oh, yeah, I think he can handle it.
I think it was during Cal's first press conference at Arkansas. He said something like, I just met with the team. There is no team because so many players are in the portal and leaving or planning to leave. So he better get some players, right? I mean, that's a huge reason why you hire John Calipari is to for recruiting purposes. So I'm assuming he's not going to have trouble with that.
Yeah, I don't think that he's going to have players, and he's probably a lot of them are going to go to Kentucky, or some of his Kentucky guys are going to follow him. He has a way, we talked before all this, of inspiring a great loyalty in his people. And so those guys are going to follow, and I expect he will do very well. That doesn't mean it's not zero sum between the two. Kentucky's going to have a ton of money. They're still Kentucky and all this. And I'll give Mark Pope this. Yeah, he has not recruited at the level of John Calipari. And you say, look, a lot of this is NIL now. A lot of this is Nike funneling players. There's a lot of all sorts of stuff. You still have to recruit because at that level, the money becomes the money, right? You're recruiting against Kansas and Duke and North Carolina and whatever. Like it's not like you're the only one who's giving some money out, so you get the guy. So at some point you got to do it. But in fairness to Mark Pope, he coached at BYU. Okay, there was no amount of money. There was no amount of connections. BYU is a wonderful university, but it is a wonderful university for a certain type of student. And that's it. It is a very unique school. You are not getting the half of the McDonald's All-American team to go to BYU pretty much for anything.
Any circumstance. No.
Under any circumstance. So, in fairness, there was only so much he could really do. So we will see. But I will tell you this as a basketball story, this Kentucky-Arkansas Calipari thing is absolutely fantastic. Fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
Drama on how this will all play out. And they're going to start poaching blasters. And, yeah, good times. Good times.